I media trained you.
No, you didn't.
That's controversial.
It's controversial of kids.
Really good.
Okay,
It's been a good one. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Mwah, 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 mwah. Oh my! Delete everything. Delete everything. Everything goes. Everything goes. Everything.
We've got some wild updates on the David case, and people are buzzing because nobody knows where this man vanished to. He's no longer tucked away in that Hollywood Hills mansion, and word is he and his manager just broke their $20,000 a month lease. Crazy thing is, how can you even cancel a lease on a house that's still marked as a crime scene? The guy who actually secured that mansion for David is none other than Josh Marshall, his right-hand man and manager. So technically, the lease was under Josh's name. But here's where it gets messy. Josh wasn't just some behind-the-scenes guy signing papers. He was all up in David's daily life. He handled the schedule, booked the studio sessions, moved with him everywhere. That means Josh had to know who was staying in that house. People online are saying there's no way he could have missed that a teenage girl was living there. Now, the homeowner, a man named Milledin, has been spilling to the press like he's on a press tour himself. He told the Daily Mail that Josh signed that lease in February 2024, which just so happens to be the same month Celeste first went missing from her family's home in Lake Eleanor. Then, after briefly returning home, she disappeared again in May that same year. That timeline is making folks connect dots in ways that don't look good at all. And get this, Milledin revealed Josh recently asked to terminate the lease and started hauling out both his stuff and David's belongings. Wait, so Josh wasn't just the landlord on paper? He was actually living in that house too? That flips everything on its head. If Josh was living there full-time, there's almost no way he didn't know what was going on. And if Celeste was inside that mansion, then Josh being right there makes it impossible to ignore the bigger question. Just how much did he really know? Loudon revealed they're packing up and moving out this week. Moving trucks are already lined up to pull everything out. They decided they couldn't stay another day in that mansion after everything that went down. But here's the thing. Did the police actually sign off on them clearing out all that evidence? Because the timing feels way too convenient. The owner himself admitted he didn't even know who David was or that he was living there until his real estate manager told him about the raid. Imagine owning a multi-million-dollar home and then finding out it's now linked to a case this disturbing. He said, "This has been such a big shock. I'm trying to process everything and anxiously waiting for the story to conclude. It's very disturbing. Honestly, I can't even picture being in his shoes. Learning something this dark went down in my own house would haunt me forever." And here's another detail. The mansion's location is shockingly close to where Celeste's car was found. The house sits right here, and the car was discovered barely a fraction of a mile away. We're talking maybe a 2-minute walk around the corner. That's how close this nightmare unfolded.
Investigators were seen removing items from the Hollywood Hills home David was believed to be staying in before heading out on tour. The house is a short distance from where the Tesla was impounded and taken to a tow yard.
Now, Milledin has also spoken about Josh, and get this, he claims Josh was totally blindsided by the investigation, saying he had no idea what was happening under his own roof. But how believable is that? How do you miss something as massive as a teenage girl secretly living there, then allegedly losing her life, possibly being hidden and then moved into a Tesla, all without Josh catching on? That sounds impossible. Milledin himself admitted the question everyone's asking: who else is responsible? He said, "Like everyone else, I want to know who's responsible for this and how a little girl's disappearance could slip through so many layers of responsibility." And that's the real bombshell. Could more people be involved in this than just the obvious names? Because I've got a short list of people we need to break down. And yes, Josh is on it. It's heartbreaking. Nobody ever thinks a property they own could get tied into something this dark. The neighborhood was supposed to be secure, filled with gated homes and constant surveillance. And that's where it gets real interesting, because police now have access to all those security cameras. Every angle of that Tesla, every second of movement around that street. It could reveal things that people never thought would come out. Meanwhile, the online comments are ruthless. One viral post said, "Even if he has nothing to do with this girl's death, which I doubt, he should be thrown in jail for dating a minor. He's despicable." And honestly, a lot of people are echoing the same sentiment because the public isn't buying the innocent act anymore. Recently, the community came together at Lake Eleanor for a vigil to honor Celeste's memory. It would have been her 15th birthday just a couple of weeks ago, which makes the entire situation hit even harder. People gathered at 7 p.m., lighting candles, sharing memories, and trying to bring some comfort to her devastated family. Local news outlets even captured clips of friends and neighbors, all emotional as they spoke out about David and the chaos surrounding this case.
Pal shows us the community remembered the teen with a candlelight vigil.
Tears flowing during an emotional candlelight vigil in Lake Elsinore. A large crowd gathering near a memorial on the street where Celeste Rivas once lived to mourn the 15-year-old's death.
I'm feeling heartbroken, devastated for hearing about the news. I didn't know Celeste personally, but it hits home.
Former classmates, friends Celeste grew up with, and parents all shaken by her death.
The family has also set up a GoFundMe page, and they've already reached their $20,000 goal to cover the funeral costs. The page reads, "As many of you know, Celeste Vess Hernandez has been identified as the body found last week. She was a beloved daughter, sister, cousin, and friend. Her family is broken and devastated by this tragic loss. They are seeking help to lay her body to rest. Any funds you are able to donate will be greatly appreciated." It's gut-wrenching to think about what her family is going through right now, especially when you scroll through social media and see posts from her sister, sharing throwback pictures of them as little kids, smiling, innocent, and happy. Those memories hit way different now, knowing how this story ended. Here's where things take an even stranger turn. According to a source, Celeste might have still been in contact with her family even after she was officially listed as a missing person. Messages were reportedly coming in for over a year, texts to her sisters, cousins, and friends. But then, out of nowhere, everything stopped. No more calls, no more texts. Those messages are said to have suddenly ended around late July or early August. That's the window where things get chilling. And here's the kicker. David's tour launched on August 5th, which just so happens to line up perfectly with that time frame. It's the kind of timing that screams alibi, because now he can say, "I didn't do anything, I was on tour." But how convenient is that? People online are already pointing to this as the date everything went sideways, suggesting he may have wanted it to look like he was gone when something horrific happened. To make it worse, DJ Academics leaked a track that David was planning to drop, and the lyrics are disturbing. In the song, he talks about hurting someone, not just taking their life, but doing it in a car with blood soaking into the seats. Then he raps, "I've got time to kill. You've got time to... We've got blood to spill all over the new car seats. Ugh, you're bleeding out. Like, how graphic can you get?" And then, almost smugly, he says, "I've got a lawyer up." Speaking of lawyers, Marky, you might want a lawyer up too, because your boy David already did.
Why did you do it to her? Yeah, I ain't gonna lie, bro. I thought we were just having this talk about, like, joking about shit is weird, like, joking around about death, and then y'all are sitting here just making jokes that I'm a pedo and a murderer, bro. Alright, bro, like, it's not jokes, you did it, stop trolling. Like, bro, like, what is wrong? Like, some of y'all just be typing some weird-ass shit. Like...
He's hired attorney Blair Burke from the powerhouse firm Breyer LLP in Los Angeles. And let me tell you, Breyer isn't just any firm, that they're known for representing some of the most controversial figures out there. We're talking about names like Kanye West and Prince Andrew. This isn't your everyday legal defense team. This is the type of firm you hire when you're ready for a battle in the public eye and in court. The firm officially goes by Burke, Rittler, and Burke. And yes, they're the ones stepping in to defend David. So far, they've stayed silent. No official statements, no press spin, nothing. But let's be real. This is one of the toughest and priciest defense teams in Los Angeles. David clearly isn't holding back when it comes to legal firepower. And the thought of him possibly slipping out of this because of high-priced lawyers, that's sending chills through people online. Because here's the thing, the evidence feels stacked. The songs, the messages, the photos, the Discord leaks, it all paints a story that seems almost impossible to twist around. Even his so-called alibi with the tour doesn't clear him. If anything, people think it looks like a cover-up. The fact that he literally incorporated a casket and funeral imagery into his performances while singing about taking lives, that feels like someone flaunting what they've done, not hiding it. No wonder the public has already painted him guilty in their minds. And while the internet debates his fate, the only person who truly deserves sympathy here is Celeste and her grieving family. Nobody's buying excuses anymore. One comment online read, "She lied about her age." But come on, that argument doesn't hold up. She was officially reported missing. That means David was harboring her regardless of any lies. Another user posted photos of Celeste back in 2021 when she first crossed paths with David. She was visibly a child. The idea that he thought she was 19? Impossible. She was barely 12, and for 6 months after he turned 18, he was still chasing her. People are calling it exactly what it looks like, predatory. One post hit especially hard, "David is sick," and anyone defending him is just as sick. That's the kind of anger fueling this case, because for many, the world failed Celeste. Seeing her face in old pictures now feels morbid, painful, and haunting. To bring it back to the community, Kaylee, one of the organizers behind Celeste's vigil in her hometown, actually spoke out about what she remembered from the time she saw Celeste. And hearing her words just makes the whole situation even heavier. What's even more shocking is how many layers of negligence seem to surround this whole case. People are starting to dig deeper into David's inner circle, asking who else might have looked the other way. Because for over a year, Celeste was seen in online posts, little hints of her presence popping up, but somehow nobody stepped in. It's not like David was moving in silence. He was flaunting his lifestyle, throwing parties, posting cryptic lyrics, and still managing to stay under the radar. How does something like that go unnoticed for so long? Investigators are reportedly looking at communication records now, tracing back who was messaging Celeste during that missing but still active period.
Mike Elsinore, neighbor, recalls seeing Celeste walking home from school before she ran away. She created the memorial, giving everyone a place to grieve.
Even though I didn't know her, I just couldn't even breathe, knowing that a child had to go through that.
My nephew went to school with her since kindergarten. And I just want to say, just as a whole, just if it was my daughter, I wouldn't want her to be forgotten. I just want justice for this little girl, because whatever happened to her, it wasn't just an accident. I don't want her to be forgotten.
Was it really her sending those texts to family and friends, or was someone else using her phone to keep up the illusion she was fine? That detail could completely change the timeline of events, and people online are already speculating that this was a way to buy David more time before everything collapsed. Then there's the disturbing symbolism in his music videos and performances. Fans who once cheered him on are now rewatching old clips and noticing things they missed, like references to young girls, cryptic coffin imagery, even him joking about secrets no one would ever find out. What once seemed like edgy artistry is now being reinterpreted as straight-up confessions. And honestly, it's making everyone ask if he was hiding the truth in plain sight. On top of that, the connection between his manager Josh and the house is raising even more suspicion. If Josh was living there, involved in day-to-day life, how could he have been so blind? And if he wasn't blind, what exactly was he covering up? Because according to the homeowner, Josh acted shocked. But the timeline makes it almost impossible to believe he didn't notice anything. The case is starting to look less like a one-man operation and more like a web of people who either enabled or ignored what was going on. And with every leak, every resurfaced lyric, and every timeline update, the story only gets darker and harder for David and his team to explain away. And just think about this for a second. That little girl we've been talking about was so young, so small, that neighbors probably never even considered she could be at risk in a case tied to a rapper. That's what makes this whole situation feel so sick and twisted. Nobody ever imagined a child like her being pulled into something this dark, and yet here we are, staring at the reality of it. Shout out to everyone who's been coming forward and continuing to expose David. From online investigators to artists who once worked with him, but are now scrambling to distance themselves. You can see the industry shift happening in real time. People who once streamed with him, collabed with him, or hyped him up are now erasing receipts and acting like they never knew him. And honestly, good, because anyone tied to him at this point needs to make it clear they don't co-sign what he did. I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Benny Blanco eventually comes out saying, "Didn't know this guy was evil. Sorry I was ever spotted on a stream with him." That's the level of damage control we're about to see. But here's the bigger question. Was it really just David? Or are there others who, even if they didn't directly commit the crime, knew something sinister was going on and chose silence over action? Because from the timelines to the text messages to the way his circle operated, it feels like way too many people had hints that something wasn't right. And the fact that nothing was done makes this even more disturbing. So let me know what you think down in the comments. Was David acting alone, or are more people guilty by association? Because this case is far from over, and every week it gets darker. And if you've made it this far, make sure to drop a like on this video, hit that subscribe button, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. I'll see you in the next one. And go ahead and click the next video popping up on your screen right now for even more celebrity drama.